What's going on, guys? Danny here from Metal Couch, and 2015 is here, and we're kicking it off with the beginning of a discography review. We're going to be talking about the band Bolt Thrower over the next probably week and a half, depending on how my schedule goes, and we're going to be taking a look at their first album today, In Battle There Is No Law. Now, my history with Bolt Thrower is fairly limited. I saw them live once at my first Maryland Death Fest. This is a few years back. I went with friend of the show, Vince, and for those of you who know anything about Bolt Thrower, for them to make it over here to the United States it's very hard to be able to see Bolt Thrower in person if you live here in the United States. So it was a pretty big deal when they were over here playing, and to be able to see them live was an awesome experience, and everybody was going crazy, and the merch table was cleaned out within 5 minutes. Bolt Thrower in that particular scene is very popular, and frankly, I wish they'd come over here more often because they deserve this kind of credit. Well, why does Bolt Thrower deserve such credit? Some of you are probably like, I've never even heard of these people before. Well, that's the reason why I'm doing this discography review, for people who have never heard of Bolt Thrower before. So without further ado, let's get right into In Battle There Is No Law. Now, right off the bat, Bolt Thrower, this particular album, and pretty much Bolt Thrower in general, is focused on the genre of war metal. There's also some death metal elements thrown in there as well. And with this first album, talking about production, it does leave a little to be desired. Listening to it with my headphones on, it was very, very bassy. The guitars were kind of buried underneath just the loud drums and the bass, which, granted, they're still audible. It would have nice to have had a little bit of an equaled out production there, but hey, what am I talking about? This is their first album, okay? I mean, not all first albums are perfect. In fact, there are very few first albums that are perfect. Going down the track listing, you open up the album with the title track, In Battle There Is No Law, which is a fairly decent opener, a great way to establish the tone of the album and kind of get that war theme going. Then we get Challenge for Power, which is a decent track. I don't really think that it's too notable on this album. It does have some great guitar sections, but all in all, not exactly a track that I would recommend people who have never heard this album before to listen to right off the bat. But that's why we have Forgotten Existence. Forgotten Existence is probably my favorite track off of this album. I really enjoy it, and it pretty much sums up this album as a whole, right off the bat. And third track in, I think, when you look at the runtime here, the track is 3 minutes and 45 seconds long. It's pretty short, and that could be said for the rest of the album too. This album is just over half an hour long, so it's a fairly easy listen. If it's something you're not necessarily into, trust me, it's not that long of an album. You could probably make it through it. Then we get Denial of Destiny, which, again, suffers from the same problem of Challenge for Power. While it does have some interesting guitar sections, overall the song is just not really that interesting. Same with Blind to Defeat. It's when we get into the second half of the album that I really, really, really start to enjoy it, with Concession of Pain, and especially Attack in the Aftermath. Attack in the Aftermath is another highlight track that I really, really enjoy. And we get to Psychological Warfare, which has an interesting effect towards the end of reversing the actual drum playing, which kind of adds to the whole title of the track itself. You know, you're going crazy. The drums are playing backwards. And then we close out the album with Nuclear Annihilation, which is probably a culmination of what Bolt Thrower, at least on this particular album, is and what they want to convey to the world. They are a non-stop force, and they want to do nothing but blow your faces off with a sonic assault. I really enjoyed this album, and granted, there are probably some people who would think of it as like a 9.5 out of 10. I wouldn't necessarily go that high. The production does leave a lot to be desired, but is not necessarily that big of a problem to me. If I were to give it a grade out of 10, I would probably give it a well-deserved 8.5. This is a great debut. This album it's awesome, and you're probably going to notice that over the course of reviewing Bolt Thrower's albums, there isn't really an album that is necessarily bad with Bolt Thrower. It's just that one of them might be more mediocre than the other. And I feel that In Battle There Is No Law is one of those albums. I mean, but then again, it's also a debut. I can't really fault them for that. They're just now getting their footing and finding out what they need to do to help better themselves as musicians and to also create much better work. In Battle There Is No Law gets an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Danny here from Metal Couch, signing out.